Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for the opportunity to speak to the Hunter Innovation Forum. This is about innovation four ways. The first innovation has been the very fact that TAFE New South Wales is now offering a product known as an associate degree. TAFE New South Wales was accredited as a higher education provider only 4 years ago. The first of our degrees was developed by Sydney Institute through the remarkable Enmore Design Centre and is a Bachelor of Interior Design. That degree started with about 10 students in 2011 and is now has an enrolment of nearly 100 students and has so far produced about 20 graduates. That first cohort of students, less than 20, has grown to nearly 1,000 in TAFE New South Wales over the last 4 years. We now have 8 degree programs, both at bachelor degree level, a graduate diploma of leadership in the vocational education and training sector, and this new degree, which is an associate degree product. That's the second innovation for TAFE New South Wales and for really higher education in Australia. There are very few universities that use the product of an associate degree, which is generally the first 2 years of a bachelor program. It provides several opportunities for students. Firstly, a more achievable tertiary qualification in 2 years rather than 3, leading to often professional appointments in employment categories where the full bachelor may not be required. It also provides an exit point for those who are unable to continue their studies through to bachelor level, so that those 2 years of study which they've committed to are not wasted. They actually achieve an industry recognised qualification. But it also provides a pathway which is more accessible, in particular to TAFE students. A very large proportion of whom comprise what we call the lower SES or socioeconomic status group, and are perhaps intimidated by the thought of going to university. You may have heard the phrase first in family, where it's not unfamiliar to those of my generation to have been the first in their family to go to university, but it's certainly less common now to find people who have no member of their family who've ever achieved higher education or participated in higher education. For TAFE, that's commonplace. Many of our students have no parents or family members who've proceeded beyond school, and many of them actually didn't finish a school qualification either. So to come to TAFE, to undertake perhaps certificate studies, then articulate into one of our diplomas or advanced diplomas, and then have somewhere beyond that to go, to undertake tertiary study in a familiar environment, possibly with teachers that they're comfortable with, and a study approach which is very palatable to them, that is small groups, smaller class sizes, more support than is able to be offered at universities, is something that's attracting a large number of our students to consider tertiary education through the TAFE system rather than through university. So the third innovation is the notion of an applied engineering program, and specifically in renewable energy technologies. This program was conceived of about 4 years ago by the planning manager of Hunter TAFE, David Kirkby, when BVET, the Board of Vocational Education and Training, offered funding to both universities and TAFE to develop what were known as pathway degrees. That is, degrees which would take people from the vocational sector through to the higher education sector. We were successful in putting a tender together with Western Sydney and Sydney Institutes and with the University of Newcastle for a tertiary pathway degree that would do precisely that, take students from vocational courses, perhaps even right down to the level of electrical trades programs, through to diploma and advanced diploma, and then on to a final year with a bachelor degree. So the other part of the innovation of this program was the cooperation with the University of Newcastle, who of course are our strong tertiary partner in this region. You may not know that for the last 10 years at least, in fact more than that, about 15, we've had the best and strongest credit transfer arrangements for students from the vocational sector into the university sector because of the cooperation between TAFE New South Wales and the Hunter and the University of Newcastle. We have credit transfer arrangements for nearly every degree program at the university, with the exception of areas where it's impossible for us to give credit, such as medicine and some of the higher specialist programs. We don't teach law in TAFE, so students don't get credit into a student aspiring to become a lawyer. But nearly everything else, up to some 48 degree programs, have credit transfer from diplomas and advanced diplomas from TAFE to the university. And that's the result of work between the lecturers and staff at the university and their counterparts at TAFE, where we meet, go through the two programs and determine the credit arrangements that can be granted. And this program is built on a 2-year credit arrangement. So in the first 2 years, the students study at TAFE doing their associate degree, and the design of the degree has encompassed the first 2 years of an engineering program at the university. So the students seamlessly move through the 2 years of the associate degree, and in the third year they undertake what is known as the Bachelor of Engineering Technology in Renewable Energy, a new degree for the University of Newcastle. That degree will lead to engineering technologist credentialing with Engineers Australia, while the associate degree will lead to the lower level of accreditation with Engineers Australia. And we've had tremendous support from Engineers Australia from the ground up in designing this particular program. So we're confident that the accreditation from Engineers Australia will be approved. So the associate degree, as I mentioned, is 2 years delivered at TAFE by TAFE staff. Now, these are the TAFE staff who have gone on to achieve the highest qualifications in their industry. It may be surprising to some people to learn that we have 2 PhDs who run our chemical technology unit at Newcastle TAFE and who are considering writing curricula for a couple of universities at the moment, who also use their textbooks. We have many master's graduates in our programs, people who've gone on from whatever background they started with, whether it was TAFE or university, to achieve the master's level qualification. And in order to teach on the associate degree, you have to hold a bachelor's degree in the discipline that you teach. So we have engineering graduates and civil and surveying graduates working on this particular program, as well as mechanical engineers who also have extensive backgrounds in industry. The program combines theoretical and practical skills, so we don't only build the massive knowledge of theory required for success in engineering, but also the practical adaptability required in what is a very multidisciplinary industry, that of renewable energy. And as I mentioned before, we have the pathway into the bachelor degree at the University of Newcastle. So graduates will have knowledge and ability to design and apply a range of renewable energy technologies. We won't be limited to solar or to wind necessarily. The degree will be flexible enough to encompass other modes of renewable energy generation, biomass, tidal, geothermal, and students will specialise in either the electrical or the mechanical and civil approaches, but all students will receive a grounding in both aspects in order to fully understand the kinds of challenges that they'll face in this particular industry. We're confident that there will be jobs. When we look at the worldwide employment currently in existence, this is a 2014 publication from the International Renewable Energy Agency, which is hosted in Abu Dhabi. China currently has 2,640,000, that is, in other words, 2.5 million jobs in renewable energy. China has outstripped all expectations in the creation and rollout of solar energy in particular. They've outstripped the rest of the world in the production of solar panels and the installation of those. It has exceeded its targets for renewable energy twice-fold in the last 4 years and has taken over as the world leader in applying and using renewable energy in all contexts, both industrial and domestic. Brazil, the United States, EU, Germany have all exceeded all known targets set in previous climate discussions for the creation of renewable energy. Germany has 50% of its power generated through renewable sources. So, as was described by a German company, the energy giant RWE, which took a loss of 2.8 billion euros last year and has had to downsize its capacity of energy production using fossil fuels by 7 gigawatts. The trend will continue in the next few years to renewable energy, and it is irreversible. The cat is out of the bag. This is the technology of the future, and therefore we are attempting to prepare the workforce of the future for Australia, which so far doesn't quite rate among the big countries with renewable energy positions. However, the industry cannot keep supply with the number of positions that are going to become available. So the course structure for this associate degree is that students do a pretty traditional model. The course design is not that different to the traditional degree programs. So 16 subjects over 2 years, 8 subjects a semester, 8 subjects a year, 4 subjects per semester for someone doing a full-time pathway. We are a non-self-accrediting higher education institution. You've all heard of NIDA, the National Institute of Dramatic Arts. We're the same as NIDA. So we're not affiliated with a university. We are not a university in our own right. We can't call ourselves a university, but we are accredited by the Tertiary Education Quality Standards Agency, TEQSA, as a higher education provider. As such, we're able to provide not income contingent loans, fee help loans under the same scheme as HECS, as universities provide. However, these are loans which attract a loan fee to the student rather than being fee-free as they are for HECS students. We note that the recent budget has increased the interest rate on HECS. We don't believe at present that will extend to fee help loans because students already pay a loan fee on top of their fee help cost. But the payment of the loan fee doesn't kick in until students are earning in excess of $50,000 annually, and then the same as HECS, it's taken out of their taxable income. We'll be delivering at the Newcastle campus, but our 2 partner institutes, Ultimo at Sydney Institute and Mount Druitt in Western Sydney Institute, will be delivering at the same time as us. We're already delivering both at Ultimo and Newcastle, and our first cohort of students commenced this semester. The new program at the university, the Bachelor of Engineering, Technology and Renewable Energy, is currently under development, and the accreditation application will be going through the academic board at the university in the coming months. That program isn't due to start until 2016 because it's by 2016 that we'll have our first graduating groups from the associate degree. And that will be delivered through Callaghan campus of Newcastle. However, the degree at Newcastle has been written so that it can accommodate the students at Western Sydney and Sydney Institute who are undertaking the studies there. There will be online learning facilities available to them, with tutorial support groups offered within their particular campuses. So students won't need necessarily to travel to Newcastle in order to do the Newcastle degree. And of course, because the university is a List 1 university, the HECS Help loan will be available to students. This may be a little difficult to see. It just shows the course structure. Because it leads into an engineering technology degree and ultimately an electrical engineering or a mechanical engineering qualification with full eligibility for Engineers of Australia accreditation, we have to have significant amounts of maths and physics to meet the requirements for the University of Newcastle. So students undertake an integrated maths and physics subject each semester. We felt that it was important to try to contextualise the studies into the industry they're training for, and so the subjects are taught in collaboration between maths teachers and the engineering teachers, so that the insights and the applications of the electrical and mechanical engineering specialities are able to be conveyed by the teachers as they participate in the program. Each semester has specialist sustainability or renewable energy units. So in first semester, students are undertaking foundation studies in renewable energy and sustainability, and in second semester, they'll be undertaking the first of their specialist subjects, the grid-connected photovoltaic power systems. We've had significant support from CSIRO in the development of this program, with great cooperation, and just recently we took all of the staff who are teaching on the program from the 3 institutes out to CSIRO for a guided tour of the facilities there, as well as the desiccant cooling system, which you may or may not be aware of. That is the first of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere, which was installed at Hamilton TAFE College, just back in Parry Street, with the assistance of the CSIRO and the Department of Public Works. So it uses the heat to dry substances which are within the cooling system, and the air then flows over those systems and it has moisture taken out of them and thereby cooled. So an innovative, low-cost and quite remarkable system of cooling that's been installed at Hamilton TAFE. In the second year, the last 2 semesters of the program, students specialise more into either the electrical focus, that is the power generation and the electrical systems that are integrated there, or they can specialise more into wind energy conversion. So wind energy has massive potential in Australia, which is significantly untapped. It certainly carries a less damaging footprint on the environment, regardless of its aesthetic considerations. There are solar and thermal energy systems subjects, as well as an engineering management program, which comprises a 6-week sort of apprenticeship, I guess, the internship within a solar or wind energy company. And we'll be looking to create great opportunities with local employers, also around the state, for our students to undertake those internships with them for those 6 weeks. So the graduates of the associate degree can articulate directly into the Bachelor of Engineering Technology at the University of Newcastle. But that's not the only university interested in the graduates of this program. We've had quite significant interest from the University of Sydney, University of New South Wales and University of Western Sydney. University of New South Wales in particular has a bachelor degree in photovoltaic power, and they're really keen for us to direct graduates from Ultimo in particular to their programs, because they see that the students will be well prepared in a range of practical and applied skills and knowledge. So the opportunity is there for students to seek multiple pathways on the exit from this program, or to commence work as fully fledged engineers within the industry, which currently really doesn't have an employment classification and is actually seeking one. So as I mentioned, the students do professional experience, 6 35-hour weeks, or a total of 210 hours during year 2. And this is part of the completion requirements for the subject engineering management. This is really important for us to gain our Engineers Australia accreditation, because to become a professional engineer, it's required that the students maintain and develop a logbook of their professional experience through not only their training but also their work in industry. And we'll be training our students to become professional engineers, anticipating the requirements of their Engineers Australia assessments. The entry requirements to do this program are predicated on a pretty strong knowledge of maths. It's unfair to students to expect them to leap into the maths requirements of a university program, university level program, without a solid maths preparation. We've recommended that students either have an HSC, fairly recent HSC with strong maths, or that they undertake a maths bridging program. And we're in the fortunate position of being able to offer maths and physics and science bridging programs to help people who may be mature age, or perhaps who didn't achieve or even do the maths requirements in their HSC, to be able to upskill themselves sufficiently to cope with the maths demands of the courses. In our first year of delivery, we're finding a pretty significant disparity between the maths skills of the people undertaking the program. Some of the mature age students are finding it difficult, some of the HSC students are finding it difficult, whereas others who have either had a strong maths preparation in school or those who've undertaken work which has involved the application of mathematics since school are really doing well. Another pathway we're interested in exploring is those who've done an electrical trade and are really interested in moving into the renewable energy area. And those people can progress through the steps that we have into Certificate 4 level, which is usually about 18 months if you're doing it part-time or less if you're full-time, and then through diploma, advanced diploma pathways into the degree, or directly from the Certificate 4 into the degree. So there's a lot of alternative ways in which people can progress through to this kind of qualification. All of our information about the degree programs is contained on the TAFE New South Wales website under the TAFE New South Wales Higher Education banner on the right-hand side. When you click on that, you go to the higher ed website for TAFE, highered.tafenewsouthwales.edu.au, and information about all the courses is listed there. We are running second semester intake of programs, so we're inviting applications for our 3 degree programs which we run in the Hunter. We also have a Bachelor of Early Childhood Education and Care, birth to 5. So we specialise in the long day care and preschool environment. We don't train teachers above that level. And we have a 4-year program which meets all of the industry requirements for accreditation as a childcare worker. That program runs out of Glendale campus, and we have a number of highly qualified teachers there who have great industry links, and that program also contains an internship pathway. We also have an associate degree of accounting, which is delivered presently out of Ourimbah campus and provides 2 years and then a 3rd year in order for students to articulate to some of the many Bachelor of Commerce or Bachelor of Accounting programs offered in New South Wales. So we have a strong cohort of students presently undertaking that program. In the main, students for whom tertiary study had never been attractive until they knew it was being offered by TAFE. So it's a way for them to achieve that kind of benchmark tertiary qualification, and many of them will consider then going on to achieve their full bachelor degree, which they'll require to become a certified practicing accountant. The Hunter TAFE website contains details about this program as well as the other bachelor and associate degree programs that we deliver, and all of the application forms, information and all other requirements are available there. We have some students with us who are only doing 1 subject per semester. We have others who are doing the full-time load. So it's very flexible in terms of how much study people choose to do. So thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that some of you may have staff or people that you work with, or indeed yourself, who may be interested in coming along and doing some of our programs at Hunter TAFE.
Do we have any questions?
Right.
What about overseas students that we promoting the program?
Yes, we are. This particular program we haven't promoted this year, although it is approved for CRICOS registration. The faculty director felt we needed to get a good year of delivery underway before we offered it internationally. However, we are very keen to offer this program internationally, particularly to the Chinese market, where there's obviously such high interest in the application of renewable energy. And we also have quite strong links in India and some of the Asian countries. The Bachelor of Early Childhood has already attracted enrolments from international students, and we have a really interesting bachelor program running in North Sydney, a Bachelor of Information Technology Network Security, and more than half of the 45 students who've enrolled in that program in its 2nd year are from overseas. So there are some niche programs that we're offering which have very high international interest. Yeah. Yes?
Does the demand come first for you to envisage an associate degree?
Yes, partly because we're a non-self-accrediting higher education institution. We have extremely rigorous processes to go through and are externally accredited. And in order to put forward a degree proposal, the first thing we have to do is find out whether there's any demand and whether there are any vocational outcomes for students. So that involves preparing a very detailed business case, firstly at institute level, and then that goes through the Teaching and Learning Committee and Academic Board for TAFE New South Wales Higher Education before we're able to submit it to the Tertiary Education Quality Standards Agency. So there's 4 levels of approval and 4 burdens of proof to ensure that we are preparing our graduates for an industry where there is employment, that we are preparing our graduates well, and that they will meet the industry expectations that have been stated by employers. So we do quite a significant employer survey in the first instance. We speak to the peak industry groups. We collect data from government and industry reports to justify the creation of the program in the first place. And it would be pretty irresponsible, I guess, to foist off onto our students a program where we weren't confident that there were vocational outcomes at the end of the day. They won't necessarily be local. This is a state degree, effectively. TAFE New South Wales is a state provider, and so the employment outcomes may be generalised within the state, but certainly I think we're all aware of the increasing interest in and need for these kinds of technologies and the people to deliver them. Thank you. Thank you.